Ahead of that, we want to bring in Walter Isaacson. He's the biographer of Apple co-founder Steve Jobs and also Tesla CEO Elon Musk. Walter, of course, also a CNBC contributor. And Walter, let's get to it. Let's talk about demand issues first. Is this a concern? What do you think?
Well, absolutely, especially since China seems to be cracking down a bit on the use of iPhones. Even people who are officials in China not supposed to use iPhones. And I think this is part of a broader problem, which is why Tim Cook has gone to China, I think, twice now in the recent months, because we are somehow or another barreling down a road of trying to disengage with China economically, which is not easy to do. And Apple will be the one most hurt. You got both Luxshare. He visited the Luxshare factory. That does everything from the earbuds to the watch. And you have Foxconn, the longtime manufacturer there. Most companies are trying to decrease their dependence on China, but Apple will find that's the hardest. It'll be the hardest for Apple to do that.
Tim Cook and Elon Musk have both been the examples that people give all the time about people who have been able to walk that tight wire, that they can say, yes, we're still American companies, but we are international and we're here in China front and center. And they've been able to do a really good job. Do you think that this is the beginning of the end of that ability?
Well, if our entire policy in the United States is to barrel down that road, it's going to be bad, I think. But you saw Gina Raimondo, the Commerce Secretary, have meetings with Chinese counterparts. And I think we're going to have to try to strike some equilibrium between total disengagement, which in my mind is not going to work, and total dependence, which we've been a little bit too dependent on them. Elon Musk goes to China because, there's a huge Tesla factory in Shanghai. And the biggest competitor for Tesla worldwide, especially when Tesla starts making its global inexpensive car, will be the Chinese manufacturer BYD of electric vehicles.
But you think we're barreling down that road by pushing back? I mean, the United States to this point has kind of agreed to take a lesser role, has agreed to say, we'll play by these rules, you can play by other rules. You think by what we've done to this point that's been too much, Walter?
I think the rhetoric has been kicked up in the past year, as you know, especially on both sides of the aisle in Congress. And so a lot of corporate leaders are saying, how can we minimize our exposure in China? And I think that we're going to have to learn to compete. It would be nice if we could do more manufacturing here. I mean, that's one of the things about Apple is that very little of Apple products are manufactured in the United States. For obvious reasons, when you look at costs, but in the end, it's going to be better to either onshore jobs or have jobs in countries that are closer to the United States. But that's going to take 5 years or so, especially when it comes to microchips or Foxconn or Luxshare that are doing the Apple products.
I think Foxconn has been a big part of the issue, too, though. I think people thought, OK, that because of the Foxconn jobs in China, that would provide some insulation to Apple in particular. But this week, there's this new news that the Foxconn founder has said he's going to be running for president of Taiwan. And he said that he's not going to bow to Beijing. That has obviously kicked off some new investigations. And that raises some pretty big questions, too.
Right. And if you look for the real cause or the real fault here, I think it's a change in the regime in China, the change of the government in China. Xi Jinping has become more and more confrontational and nationalistic. And so I sort of intimated that maybe it was U.S. policies to blame. To me, it's much more the Chinese policies to blame, especially Xi Jinping becoming more nationalistic.